What is going on, everybody? Moto Monday that's on a Wednesday because Justin is not good with wires and all that technical stuff, and technical difficulties got in the way, so I'm doing this on a Wednesday. Yeah, Moto Monday on a Wednesday. Moto Wednesday. But I can talk about Supercross because that happened on Tuesday, which is also weird. But, the main events were kind of boring down in Texas there. I mean, let's be real, they're boring. But man, the qualifying and those LCQs were on fire. I want to bring something up. Let's see if I can pull this off. I don't have intern Joe here, but boom. Nope. Boom. There we go. Let's talk about this one. 450 LCQ. Clayson, Hartraft. This was awesome. First off, these guys thrown down. These guys were thrown down. Kudos to them. Great race. Second, we're going to bring up the photo. Whoever the home slice flagger is, the fact that he was chill the entire time and never even glanced over the fact that this Suzuki is about, I'd say, 22 to 24 inches away from his feet, third gear wide open on a 450. Didn't care. Whatever. Cool. You, sir, are a hero. So, okay, let's check out these photos. Clayson went to completely take out Hartraft. I hope I got the name right. And Hartraft went off the track, completely off the track, kept a pin, got back on. Now, Clayson was super pissed off, obviously, because he thought he got an advantage. But here's my take. So we had three people do, how would I put this? I mean, they had some dramatic off-track excursions. So let's put it that way. This was the one where I don't have a problem with because, Clayson, you're the one who tried to put him in the cheap seats. Okay, I'm going to take these off now. You try to put him in the cheap seats. He didn't want to go there. He got back on. He didn't gain any time or positions. He just stayed in front of you. I'm okay with this one. Both guys, great guys. I'm okay with this one. The Jason Anderson one, next up. Kind of weird because the hay bales are in the way. So he got caught up with some people who crashed in front of him. He launched off the track and then just pinned it down the straightaway section, like fourth gear pinned, and got back on at the end of the straightaway. Or, well, should have been whoops. For him, it was a straightaway. He gained time. He should be docked. That's my opinion. However, let's be real. Go back and look. There's no good spot to get back on in the whoops. And trying to enter Supercross whoops midsection in first gear, yeah, you're going to lose a ton of time. I can see how his brain would work. Like, no, I'm skipping all this. They have those hay bales so tight there next to those whoops. There was no super great place for him to enter. And he also knows that if he enters in the middle of the whoop section, he's going to lose a ton of time. So I can see why you'd want to skip it. I'd give this a 50-50. I'm kind of torn on this one. He definitely should have maybe ripped to the end, like a little wave or nod over to an official it's like, hey, I'm going to take a second off or whatever, and now I'm going to get back on the track. That might have helped him. Sometimes those little cues apparently work with Supercross officials. I don't know. But I'm 50-50 on that one. The McAdoo, oh, that was just, no. I'm sorry. Straight up, bruh. Too much. He cut so much of that track. Do I get it? Yeah, heat of the moment. You're not thinking about all the AMA rules and that kind of stuff. I get it. I totally get it. But he did cut a lot of the track off. So it is what it is. Don't hate on these guys for making these decisions, though, because they're racing, man, for a lot of money. They're racing for a lot of money, and I mean, fame. They got fame, fortune, females, all that on the line. They make dumb decisions here and there. You got to make a lot of these decisions, like snap your fingers, like split second decisions. So I don't blame any of these guys, but I would say the McAdoo was the most blatant one. I'm on the fence on the Anderson one. Hartraft going off the track? Nah, man. I would do the exact same thing 10 times out of 10. Pin it. Try not to hit the flagger. Pin it and get back on the track. So with that said, we're going to talk to somebody who kicked my butt last year. I tried to do a 5K a day in 2020, and I did not succeed. I failed. I ran more miles than I ever have in a 12-month span, but I still did not succeed. However, Todd Knoeppel did, and so I'm going to call him up here in just a minute, talk to him about that, maybe talk to him a little bit about how he got into riding and all that fun jazz. So without further ado, my interview with Todd Knoeppel.
Hello.
Hey, Todd.
What's up, dude?
How's it going, man? How you doing?
I'm doing well. At least it's a nice day out, so hopefully ride some pit bikes this afternoon.
Right on. Well, I'm slightly impressed that you actually let me do this and give you a call. I appreciate it.
Oh, shoot, man. I'm like, man, I don't even know what I'm going to say.
Well, it's not that hard. I just want to talk about, just some fun dirt bike stuff and, maybe some running stuff too, because I haven't really even announced to anybody how last year's 5K a day thing that I came up with went. So we got to get into it a little bit, but
Totally.
We'll go to that in a minute. But before that, man, so you watch a bit of Moto Monday, right?
Oh yeah.
Okay. You've seen a few. We've kind of switched up the format a few times, but I'd seen you in the comments, and I don't remember exactly how we started talking again, but dude, I remember you from back in the day.
Yeah, so I used to ride, back in like the 99, 2000, 2001 era, I was doing a ton of riding, and, I would go out and ride at the Clark County Indoor, and I think it was with your dad, maybe?
Well, yeah, back at
the
early days of Clark County Arenacross, both my dad Keith and my uncle Curtis were helping kind of prep the tracks.
Oh, that's right. I think I used to race with Curtis.
Probably, yeah.
I'd always kind of followed the local thing, but I didn't even find your podcast till about, it's probably been a year and a half ago or so. I've been trying to get back into riding and doing some pit biking, and I saw your podcast, I think on like Facebook or something like that, and I started watching it, and I'm like, oh man, and then I was trying to piece it all together, because I'd kind of gotten away from riding with family, and, my kids don't ride much, so I kind of, it was my thing, and, now my son Trent is kind of into the 110s with a couple of his buddies, so we've been doing some pit biking, but, I was looking to get back into it, and started watching the podcast and just love the content and the local scene and everything like that, and wanting to get, kind of get going again, but it's been slow. I haven't made any races or, I've just been kind of goofing around, but I'd like to get back out.
Well, to be perfectly fair, 2020 didn't have a lot of races, It was a kind of bleak year.
Yeah, it took a turn for the worse earlier, starting out the year when you're thinking about all your goals or what you want to do, I always start out looking at the calendar and I'm like, oh man, I want to try to make that race. I want to try to do this. I want to try to do that, and then, things kind of, life just runs you over and things get scrubbed and you just keep chugging away at it. But, motocross has been something that, and riding has just been something that I've always loved. I mean, my dad and I did it when I was a kid, and I got he used to take us out. He used to do a lot of the enduro stuff down in Southern California. And so he would always take us out on his first lap, the easy lap, and then one of us kids on his bike, and then, he'd go out on the second lap on his own and stuff. And so we got kind of into doing that, and, I got into wanting to race, and, we just didn't really have the resources or the money to really chase it. I just love riding,
Yeah, and so back then, I'm going to switch it up real quick, go back a step, and Clark County Arenacross, weren't you working with Elaine back then? I know it's been close to 20 years, but you were working out there as well, weren't you?
Yeah, I was working as the medic for the races. back, and I want to say it was like part of 2000 and 2001-ish, because I was trying to go to the Police and Fire Olympics. There's the Police and Fire Olympics is like an event they hold every other year in a different country. And so...
Really? Okay.
Yeah,
this is new to me.
particular year they were having it in Indianapolis. And so I was trying to do a lot of training and riding because they had a motocross event. And so I was trying to ride and train as much as I could. And Brian would let me ride out at Washougal a little bit during that time. And John Niemeyer, who had Moto Mart up in Longview, I was riding at his track.
Oh, I know John. I used to help out his kid JJ. Yeah.
Yep, yep. Oh, yeah. And so I was riding at his track, and then I was doing the indoor stuff, all trying to go do that event. And so that was pretty cool. I went out there, and I had second locked up until about 3 corners before the end, and I washed my front end out and ended up third. So I at least made it on the podium.
Yeah, that's still cool. Yeah, I had no idea about that, man.
It's fun. You can do, for that, not to get too sidetracked, but, you can do anything from swimming to volleyball to weightlifting to just challenges. They have a lot of mountain biking, cycling. You can do whatever events you want. But the cool thing is it's in a different country every other year. But I've only attended the one in Canada and then the one that they had here in the U.S.
I got to look into this more. I didn't even know this was a thing. So
yeah, it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. They take the whole town and turn it into, flags, banners, opening ceremonies, closing ceremonies, and I haven't really participated. I think the last time I participated was around 2009 in Vancouver, BC. And so I haven't followed it much, but I wouldn't mind, trying to make another one. And I don't even know if they have motocross at every one. I think it's only... select years or select locations that they even have a motocross event.
Okay. Yeah, after this, I'm going to have to look into that. I mean, just out of pure curiosity. I didn't know it was something that went on. So that's cool. Yeah. And so you did that, and you're getting back into moto a little bit now, but you said you haven't raced in 2020 or 2021 yet, right? Or have you?
No, I haven't done any races.
When was the last time?
Oh man, I'm trying to think. I got into doing some vintage stuff. The last time that I lined up on a gate drop race, man, it's been years. Probably at least 5 or 6 years ago.
Okay.
So it's been a long time, and I've had I've had crazy events on the calendar like the Old Timers, or I've had since I've started watching Moto Monday, I've had a ton of Riverdale events on the calendar, or, the Pit Bike Nationals, or, some of the fundraiser stuff that you're doing. And, honestly, it just gets busy. I just need to make it a little higher priority and start getting out there because it's just something that I enjoy.
Well, we're going to have to get you out to at least something. And, I know you have a pit bike, and I happen to do a 24-hour pit bike ride. May not be how you want to get back into it, but if you really feel like testing yourself over 24 hours, just saying.
Oh man, so I followed the last two that you did in the chat on the lap, and I was just like, man, I'm trying to wrap my head around it because I've done some endurance stuff, with being in the military or just doing courses and stuff, and that one I have really been like, dude, that seems rugged, man. I was like, my hat's off to you for sure and the people that complete that. It's definitely something I would try to kick around. You're looking at doing it on using a different platform this year, maybe of those the Coleman bikes or something, which sounded kind of funny, or doing looking at the track that you're going to maybe use, which sounded, pretty awesome, because that's just a cool cool thing about it all. It's just the evolution of it, you know. And so I've been kind of just a stalker watching all this stuff go on, and I really don't have much of an excuse. I got a super supportive wife, you know, and you know, she'll let me take on whatever I want to take on, you know, but you know, a lot of times I just get, you know, busy with family and life and
for sure.
or work. You know, I work for the fire department, so I do shift work, you know, or something will land on a shift or something like that, and I'll you know, it'll just be the kind of the way it goes. But you know, like anything, you gotta make it a priority and go after it.
Well, it's a pretty weird and crazy idea, so I can get where it doesn't really fit into life plans, because I don't really know why I decided one day that it would be cool to go for 24 hours on a pit bike. Like, I don't really know how it got to that point, but I am impressed how many other people jumped on board. But I can tell you at the end of everyone's like, why did we do this? Why?
Isn't that the way it is? And then after a couple of months, you're like, man, we should look at another, you know, and do this again. But the concept and the reason behind it is what makes it freaking awesome. You know, it's, you know, you turn it into a fun fundraiser event, you know, or, you know, all that kind of stuff, which makes it cool.
Fun. Like, I believe it was Joe Rogan that came up with this concept, and I fully agree with him. Fun. The word fun. Yeah. There's a couple different kinds of fun. There's the fun where, like, you go to the fair and you get some cotton candy and you're walking around, maybe have a beer, and, like, you're having just a good time. You're having fun. You know, it's warm out, a summer night. Like, you're having fun. And then there's the 7-day elk hunt in the rain in Canada, where everything goes wrong. You have to survive. You step on your cell phone. You do get an elk, but then you have to trudge it in the middle of the night and back, and, you know, like, and you get home and you're utterly exhausted. You take a shower, and it's about 3 to 4 days later. You're like, that was awesome. That was fun. But at no point during it did you think it was fun.
Yeah, you had to let that one process a little bit. You know,
there's the immediate fun, and then there's the other ones where at no point during any of it is it fun. It's when you look back at it, and that's kind of what this pit bike thing is. Like, it quickly stops being fun, and it just starts getting gnarly. When you can't even sit down anymore, or it's 3 a.m. and you go over the bars on a pit bike and you break your light, you're like, why am I doing this?
Oh, totally. You know, it's like anything, you know, you get so deep into it or after so many revolutions, or, you know, that you're like, oh man, this got old quick, you know. But, you know, with the bikes and the cause and the challenge, you know, that's what keeps you going in the end, you know. And like you said, you know, like any of it, you look back on it and you're like, yeah, that was cool.
It takes a few days, but then you look back at it and like, that was cool. But it takes a little bit, and then it's cool. Speaking of challenges, let's go and do one of the reasons I'm calling you is because I came up with another crazy challenge last year, and it was the 5K a day. Basically, run roughly a bit under 3 miles a day. So at the end of the year, you could say you hit 1,000 miles. And I failed. So I haven't even really gone public on any of this, but I actually failed. And there was about 6 or 7 of us, I believe, that said we were going to give it a shot, including a friend of mine who's a marathon runner. So I figured he would smoke everybody. But I think he had some back issues, and he was just being a pansy too. I'm sorry, Kevin, if you are hearing this right now. But he didn't even hit the 1,000, and you did. You did the 5K a day, and I did better than I've ever done. Honestly, I ran more miles last year than I ever have in my entire life. To this day, I still hate running. But you whooped us all, man.
Dude, I cursed your name for most of that year, to be honest with you. Like, I remember sitting there watching the podcast or listening to the podcast when you were like, you know, we should do this challenge. You know, I've been thinking about something, and you mentioned the 5K a day, you know, and what typically goes through my mind, you know, I'm like, dude, 5K, you know, what is that? You know, that's 25 minutes of running, or or whatever, you know, a day. Who doesn't have 25 minutes a day, you know? I mean, so on the surface, I was like, oh, this is going to be a breeze. Yeah, I'm in, dude. I'll do the challenge. I was kind of playing some indoor soccer with my 17-year-old son, you know, and I'm like, I need to get in better shape, and I want to get into racing, so I want to, you know, start doing some rowing and or some running and getting out there again. So I'm like, dude, this is priceless. I set all kinds of goals at the beginning. Like, I think you mentioned it sometime. I don't know if you mentioned it sometime in November or December, but, you know, I'm like, all right, you know, I'm going to get out there. You know, I'm going to come up with a plan. I'm going to do intervals, and I'm going to make this 5K. I'm going to set like a total time limit for the end of it, you know. And, dude, I was probably 3 months in, and I'm like, everything was out the window, man. I was like, holy crud, man. Which is odd, because like I said, it's not a huge time when you look at the half hour, or if you're driving or trying to find someplace new to run, you know. And what really happened is I just started kind of logging miles. The speed work kind of went out the window, and I was logging miles, but, you know, I was slowly getting faster. And then I think it was like around April or something, I got plantar fasciitis, and that really crippled me up a little bit. And I'm like, shoot, man. So I had to pretty much went straight treadmill, and I set a pace at like I think it was about 8:40. That's about as fast as I could run without being in a bunch of pain. And I ran like that for probably 2 months. And then what was weird is the effect that had on my running even after that, because it changed my stride. It changed the way I ran, because I just ran that pace to try to get through it. And I was doing all the stretching, and I bought new shoes and icing and researching, and then I kind of got over it. And but I never really got back to the speed, and I never really got dedicated enough to really solve the problem. I just kind of, from then on, I just kind of dealt with it and kept running.
But it's impressive you still did it, man, because there was a lot of people who had planned on doing this, myself included. I came up with the idea, but, you know, things fall apart. I don't own a treadmill, so I had to run outside. It's COVID, and I don't intend to go get my gym membership back and run with a mask on. So I was like, I stuck to running outside, and I get really discouraged when it's raining, and it rains a lot. So that held me back, and it was hard to come back from. Like running when you're not in the greatest of shape, but attempting to get somewhere, and running 3 miles in the morning, then 3 miles at night to make up for stuff, whew, that starts kicking your butt for a while.
Yeah, it starts to take you down, especially like you said, you know, once you get to a certain level where you're trying to get back into running, you know, I think that, like, my first miles were like 9-minute mile, or, you know, 8:50 miles or something like that. I was like, you know, and I'm used to, you know, the whole has-been thing, you know, well, back in the day, you know, I could run 6 minutes, you know, and, you know, that was all out the window. And so now you're just, you're running, you know, stiff, and you're trying to get back, and it takes a long time to kind of get back into a form, you know, and start to where you're running. But the problem with it too is I never really enjoyed running, which is even funny about taking the challenge on. You know, it's not even.
I still don't. I'm there with you, man.
I like mountain biking. I like riding dirt bikes.
Way more
I like
fun.
snowboarding.
Way more fun.
But, you know, it became a fitness thing. You know, I feel like, you know, I'm 53 years old. You know, I got a young daughter. You know, I still want to race. You know, mentally, I'm like, you know, I mean, maybe my wife would say I'm like 15. You know, I'll give myself 25, you know. But, you know, I still feel like I want to get out there and, you know, and grind and have some fun and goof off, you know. So I'm like, well, I gotta stay fit. You know, I see a lot of people getting injured, and, you know, and it's no guarantee, but just trying to, you know, push things out further and trying to stay healthy, you know, and maybe survive a wreck or two, you know, without too much mayhem, you know, is always the key.
So going into this year, do you got any fun new plans? I mean, do you want to do a race? Do you got any, like, are you going to do another challenge? I know it's March already, but you got anything fun in mind?
Yeah, so I'm definitely going to make, I'm hoping to make the mini nationals. You know, I don't know if I'll make one of the Riverdale races, but I definitely am going to try to make a couple of the mini stuff. And then I got, I'm going to do the Washougal, I think the vintage race. I got a 1980 YZ125 and I got a 74 MX 250. And then, you know, I'm hoping to do the old timers race.
The Washougal one? Or the Horn Rapids?
The Washougal.
Okay.
The Washougal one.
Okay.
And then I took on, I'm rowing this year, so I took on a rowing challenge. So it's basically, I'm just doing like 1 million meters in a year. And so it sounds like a lot, but it only works out to like 2,700 meters of rowing per day. You know, which on a rower, if you average like 2 minutes of 500, you know, it's only like 10 minutes, you know, 10 to 12 minutes of rowing, which,
but rowing, dude, rowing sucks.
It does suck. I bought a Nordic track one with the big monitor on it, so you can put a map in of wherever you want to row, Spain or, you know, someplace like that. And it pulls up like Google Street View, so you can, and it's at least a little bit of a distraction. I don't like it as much as the Concept 2 that I have at work, but that monitor and that distraction, because I'm pretty much rowing about 6,000-7,000 meters every other day, which is way over the limit. But you know, I'd like to get down to rowing like 10,000 every other day. You know, and just overshoot
impressive.
The goal. I hope
those things can kick your butt in a hurry, because I got a rowing machine for this year, and like, it doesn't take much. And once you get going, I got one of the like the Aerodyne style with like the fan, you know.
Oh yeah.
Oh, it's the devil, man. I mean, I know it's good for you and all, but that thing's the devil. I hate that. After like 5 minutes in, like, why did I buy a rowing machine?
Dude, they totally suck. And, you know, I never even would have dreamed of rowing outside of reading, like, you know, that a lot of motocrossers were rowing, you know, and then it was probably, you know, a couple of years ago, I got heavy into it after reading about that, and I was like, man, I felt really good, my upper body, my back, you know, and I was like, and then I got away from it because we didn't own one. You know, I had to go to the gym to do it. And I'm like, I really need to get back into that and start just doing it, you know, because like I said, if I want to start racing, you know, I need to get some Aflac insurance, and I need to get fit and not, you know, and kind of keep chasing. I don't know what level, you know, the veteran MX stuff was kind of cool, and following Castile and all those guys that went down to Daytona, you know, that was pretty cool watching, or kind of following their trip and progression, you know, and maybe doing some of the warrior class stuff. I don't know what level I'm going to push to compete or not, you know, whether I just kind of keep it fun or I try to get out there. I mean, my skills are way down, like anything, you know, it's clearly perishable if you're not doing it all the time. And so trying to get some seat time again. And
yeah, Moto, you got to stay on top of it, man. You lose it so fast. Moto's definitely one of those sports where you got the muscle memory, of course, but if you're not doing it a lot, there's a big, big difference. I mean, even you can be in the best shape of your life, but if you don't have the seat time, I think Davey Millsaps put out a video about that way back in the day, that he's like, I'm in the fittest, like the best shape that I've ever been in, and I went out to the test track after an injury, and he's like, I had arm pump second lap.
Yeah, I mean, totally. I was out at Riverdale about a month ago riding, and I'm like, don't put, you know, I wasn't doing like the big table in the front, or the, you know, there's 2 tables on the main track that I wasn't really jumping, you know, and then I was on this other track that had a, you know, a decent table on it, and I'm like, you know, so I just kind of, I went for it, and I was having fun, and it was working out fine. Well, I came around on a lap, and I got cross-rutted, and the bike pitched, and I just froze, man. I didn't do anything that you're really supposed to do. I didn't try to pull it back in. I think I got on the gas when I landed, you know, instead of, you know, chopping the throttle and letting the bike straighten out, and it just pitched me. And I cartwheeled for a little ways and I think I crawled around on all fours for a little while, you know, and once I got my head back together, and you know, so I think a couple of people rode up, which was really cool. And it's like, dude, are you okay? And I'm like, yeah, I think so. You know, you do that head to toe assessment, you know, and you're like,
yeah.
But I'm like, yeah, you know, it's just the reflexes. I think, you know, if you're riding a lot, you generate those reflexes to different situations, and you have a little bit more fluid. You know, it's like the fighting that you do, the MMA. You know, if you're not doing it, you just, that intuitiveness of that reflex in a given situation just kind of slowly starts to erode away, and then, you know, you're back at square one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you gotta stay on top of it. It's pretty amazing how fast you lose it. But you know what? You just gotta go slow, get back into it, and then yeah, it's usually fine. But the first,
Right.
you know, and I'm not looking forward to this because I'm going to get back to racing here probably in a couple weeks, and I haven't done that in almost a year. I'm not looking forward to it because I know it's going to be embarrassing, and it's going to be me trying to hold myself back for the whole time because, like, I know I can go at this speed, but if I try to do that, I'm going to be on my head. So I get it.
Well,
I totally get it.
Yeah, I was even looking at trying to see if you're going to put on any classes. I wouldn't mind paying for, you know, a couple classes, whether, you know, it's just an open class or whether, you know, we get the veteran MX thing, and, you know, get a couple of dudes out there and pay, you know, for a little bit of coaching. Because honestly, you know, it's been a while, you know, and it would be nice to go through and just, you know, kind of run through it again and spend a day working on some fundamentals again, you know, just to kind of get going again.
Well, actually, we'll talk more after this phone call here about it because I do have a couple things that I'm trying to put together. So there might be something coming up at Riverdale mid-spring, you know. So we'll talk some more on that. But oh yeah, it's. I mean, I should probably not be teaching. I should be one of the people sitting there in the class at this point myself. So maybe I'll be right there next to you. But yeah, there's some opportunities coming up, and it's cool that we have a lot of people in the Northwest here. They're actually really good coaches. I think some of the best coaches actually in the United States have come out of here. We've produced some quick riders, and we got some really good coaches. People who...
Dude, isn't that amazing for the Northwest? You know, for the rain and the environment that you're trying to survive in up here.
This is not prime motocross country. It rains 9 months out of the year, and it's clay dirt out in the woods with Sasquatch. But we've produced, well, great coaches, some major companies. You know, you think about it, Fly Racing WPS out of Idaho. We have motorsport.com, one of the biggest online companies probably in the world for motorsport parts, right here in the Northwest. We have Ryan Villapoto, one of the winningest riders of all time, right here from the Northwest. Josh and Justin Hill. We've had Ron and Chuck's son. Like, the list goes on. Like, we produce some pretty killer stuff out of what's not really, I mean, let's be real. It's not California. This is not California. But we've produced a lot of cool stuff.
But we also, you know, when you just look at the sheer weather or the survivability of it, it's like anything. Yeah, you know, if you're going to be a Northwesterner, you got to be able to get out in the crap. And I've gotten pretty soft about that, you know. And I need to harden up. I need to HTF you and get out there a little bit more. But honestly, you know, you're like, all right, you know, how much am I going to put into this? You know, and so.
Yeah, maybe we just.
That said, you know, SoCal, where they have 365 days of sunshine, pretty much, you know, unlimited training and resources. Yeah, for the level of commitment that the Northwest has for Moto is freaking awesome.
I'd like to think we're a little tougher. I'd like to think so. But on that note, man, I'm actually going to have to let you go here. But you got any final words? Any words of wisdom, shout-outs, any of that fun stuff?
No, dude. Keep the show going. You know, keep it evolving. I love it. I love, you know, the Northwest. Keep doing what you're doing. I know there's always a level of frustration, and especially in, you know, today's day and age and stuff like that. But, you know, hopefully I'll get out to some races and get out and goof around. But I appreciate the challenge, even though I was cursing you. It got me going again. I'm just trying to build off that. And So yeah, dude, thanks for the work that you're doing.
Oh, well, I appreciate it, man. And once again, congrats on actually fulfilling the challenge and getting that done. I salute you, sir. Bravo. And we'll chat here some more soon about dirt bikes, pit bikes, and all that. And I will talk to you soon, man.
Right on. Thanks, Justin.
All right, I'll see you.
Later.
Bye.
So good catching up with Todd and seeing what he's been up to. One more thing before I go. Can we have like a round of applause for a rider? And I really appreciate they showed this on TV. We're going back to Supercross at Arlington. Moran's main event. I haven't been able to figure out what happened to his bike. I'm assuming he blew it up or something. Pushed it over the finish line so that he could still get the finish. Kudos to you, sir. Like, we don't see that kind of stuff very often. We see a lot of people quit. I mean, I'm one of them. I've quit some races, but he didn't want to get a DNF. He wanted to finish. He waited, and he pushed his bike over the starting line. Kevin Moran's, salute, sir. I would love to send you some Moto Monday swag. Hit me up. I'll DM you right now. I'm going to DM you. Hit me up, bro. I want to get you some Moto Monday swag, some 110 swag, because that was motivating to see. I want to salute you. That was awesome. Get the finish. Like, even if it's dead last, get the finish, not a DNF. Good on you, sir. So we're going to have the after show here in a little bit. I hope you guys enjoy, but, you know, a little quick and easy Moto Monday, or I guess Moto Wednesday. Hope you guys like the interview, and I'll see you guys next week.